Ariel Castro we're getting more information about who Ariel Castro really is. And family members of his ex-wife are now coming forward and sharing some of the really horrible, horrific things he did to his ex-wife. Now, his ex-wife passed away. She was struggling with an illness for years, and he just made her life a living hell while they were married. According to the Associated Press, Figueroa's relatives said Castro savagely beat her, pushing her down a flight of stairs, breaking her nose and dislocating her shoulder, among other injuries. Her sister, Elida Caraballo, said Castro once shoved Figueroa into a cardboard box and closed the flaps over her head. Apparently, he also did psychological tricks and things like that to frighten her. Castro, to frighten his wife, kept a mannequin wearing a dark wig propped up against a wall and sometimes drove around the neighborhood with it, relatives said.
No. Whenever you get into mannequin territory, be afraid. Okay, that's some creepy ass stuff. And I think part of his logic, and I'm guessing here, is that he had the mannequin so that if anybody ever saw the real girls, he'd say, "Oh, you're crazy, you just saw the mannequin." Mm-hmm. Do you see what I'm saying? Maybe.
Who knows what was going through this creep's mind? I mean, you read more about him and who he really was. And I mean, you already knew he was a creep because of the fact that he held these 3 innocent women captive for 10 years, right? But then all the horrible things he did to his wife, of course he was raping these girls and, they would get pregnant. And the way that he would handle with the pregnancy is he would starve them for 2 weeks, and then he would proceed to punch them in the stomach until the fetus was aborted.
So he apparently did this at least 5 times with one of the girls. Mm-hmm. I mean, the degree to which this guy is a monster is indescribable, right? To do that to somebody, I got you pregnant by raping you, so I'm going to starve you and then punch you in the stomach until you have a miscarriage. And so now prosecutors are considering the death penalty because of that. Now, I don't agree with that. Now, look, I want to, as I said on the very first day, my visceral reaction is I want to rip this guy limb to limb, right? Mm-hmm. Now, rip him to shreds. But if you set a precedent that based on a miscarriage, you get a death penalty sentence, that's a really bad precedent to set.
Definitely, and it gives, anti-abortion advocates this, huge argument. Well, in this case, it was considered murder. Aborting a fetus was considered murder. Therefore, it should extend to anyone who decides they want to abort a fetus. So I do think it sets a bad precedent. When it comes to the death penalty, it's funny because, if you murder someone, you have the chance of getting sentenced to death, right? And I'm against that. I'm against the death penalty. But that's why it's important to take emotion out of it and revenge out of it, because as I read this story, I want to throw away all logic and all reasoning and just say, you know what, I don't care, let's murder him. I don't even want a trial, I want him dead.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So I have the best example against that in this story, right? So as I explained to her earlier, same exact visceral reaction. First time I read the story, and that we didn't even know about the punching in the stomach and the miscarriages. And he had them, of course, locked up in the basement with a chain, and he lets them into the 2nd floor. But he's terrorized them as he's terrorized his wife. He's used to terrorizing them, so he transfers that on his wife. If you betray me in any way, he puts her in his wife in a cardboard box. He must have done that to those girls. If you do anything wrong, etc. So everybody's like, let's go get the guy. But if you remember on the first day, mm-hmm. it appeared that the 3 brothers, Anna, were doing it together, right? Mm-hmm. And then we found out later that wasn't true. The 2 Castro brothers that were not Ariel Castro apparently didn't do it at all, didn't have knowledge of it, right? Mm-hmm. And I, on that day when we didn't know that, had already concocted a Turkish fantasy in my mind where I find the guys in the basement and start killing them one by one.
I know.
And then you know what would happen? Oops. You killed 2 innocent people.
I know. Look, that's why I don't actually want the death penalty for this guy or anyone else. I don't believe in the death penalty. I'm just talking about emotion versus logic. And when you are logical about the situation, you do want him to have his Miranda rights. You do want him to go through a trial. And you want him to get life in prison as opposed to the death penalty. So I'm just, saying, if I were a judge, which I'm not, and I'm happy I'm not, I would want to murder this guy.
Yeah, and look, final thing on it is that this guy is going to get hundreds and possibly thousands of different counts of rape so that they make sure he never gets out of jail, right? So this is very, very likely to be a life sentence. Now, remember, there was a suicide note from 2004 where he basically admits everything. It would be shocking if he didn't get a life sentence. remember that could be much worse than the death penalty, because this is not going to be the most popular guy in jail.
Yeah, definitely.
And if he's going to have to live with that terror locked up for the rest of his life, that's a pretty good punishment. And that's bringing him to justice. Exactly what we're supposed to do.